Welcome back to Reddit Tree. Today we are back with paranormal stories and events. Subscribe now to get updated every day. First event. Something crawled out of my TV. I've been debating on posting this for a while, as I'm still not convinced it wasn't just sleep paralysis, but I figured the contribution would be appreciated regardless, and I haven't seen an experience that quite echoes what I saw. This all happened over 6 years ago, so forgive me if I can't remember something. I'm kicking myself for not creating a dream/experience journal. Some context leading up to the actual event. For several weeks before the night it happened, the TV in my room would randomly turn onto static in the middle of the night. It got to the point where I would just unplug it before I went to sleep, because it turning on was a guarantee. I would chalk this up to electrical issue, if not for the fact that it never happened during the day, only between 1 and 4 a.m. I wish I tested the TV in another room/outlet, but alas, I was not that smart. This context is why I'm not entirely sure if what I experienced was sleep paralysis or not. On the night that it happened, I had stayed up late playing video games, and had forgotten to unplug my TV. As a result, around 2 or so in the morning, my TV flickers onto static. This is where things get a little tricky for me to explain, as I'm nearly certain that I was asleep for the entirety of this. I was fast asleep, then I became aware of my TV turning on, white noise of static, screen lighting my room. After the TV turned on and I became aware, my perspective shifted. I was viewing myself and my room from just over my own shoulder. I could see myself lying on my side, facing the TV, with my room illuminated up from the screen. I remember a thought popping into my head, oh, it usually just turns off on its own, I'll just wait. Which struck me as odd, as I've always felt inclined to get out of bed and unplug my TV when this occurred. It couldn't have been more than 20 seconds after the TV turned on that I felt a shift in pressure in the room, and I felt that choking feeling in my throat. Still from this odd perspective, I watched a small, roughly just over 1 meter tall, human-shaped being crawl out of my TV, and when I say he came out of the TV, picture it not like a doorway, but like the screen of my TV shifted and morphed into the shape of this thing. Its body was made of static. I remember feeling absolutely paralyzed with fear as it crawled out of the TV, up my wall, and across my blinds covering my windows. I recall them shaking violently as it crawled like an insect along the wall on all fours, to wind up directly behind me on my bed. As it came to rest behind me, I could feel my bed indent as its weight rested on it. My body shifted toward it from the indent, and I could feel hot breath on the back of my neck. It never spoke to me. This part seemed to last the longest. Whether it actually did is hard to say. It only came to a stop when my door suddenly swung open, and I felt a warm presence enter my room. This new presence walked over to my bed, sat down at the edge near the foot of the bed, and as soon as it made contact, the entity behind me vanished, and I woke up. After I became fully awake, my TV was still on, but my blinds were not disturbed at all. I decided to test if my TV would turn on again during the night after this incident, and it never once happened again. I'm still not sure what to take away from this experience, but I thought it was interesting enough to share. Cheers. Second event. My haunted vet clinic. I thought this would be a pretty cool thing for everyone to read. I've worked at this vet clinic for 4 years now. There was a clinic cat named Jingles who ended up passed overnight. It was really sad for all of us. Jingles was a real character. Seriously mischievous little thing. She passed December 24, 2018. Ever since that day we all have had experiences with Jingles. I was the one who was working Christmas, so sadly I found her. I called my co-workers to come say bye and started filling out cremation paperwork. I walked away from the computer for a moment to just breathe, came back and there was a bunch of random letters where I was typing. Jingles was notorious for walking and laying on any keyboard she saw that was in use. Always was messing up our notes. I was speechless. I didn't even want to delete the letters. Couple weeks later, I'm alone taking care of the boarders for the weekend. I had these 4 small dogs who were always very good and pretty quiet. They would bark when I came in but quieted down when they realized it's me. So I come in, they bark for a couple minutes, then they calm down. I was finishing up mopping the floor around their kennels when 2 of them just go insane. They were both looking at the same area of the room, howling and barking like I've never heard them bark before. Jingles would stand right where they were looking and tease dogs. She was so unafraid of everything it worried me sometimes. I said, "Jingles, you troublemaker. Go to your bed." and like 30 seconds later they stopped barking and were totally fine. Had to be Jingles. I know these dogs well and they are very calm for the most part. This one is pretty funny. I smelled her ghost poop. Her poops were some of the nastiest smelling poops I've ever encountered, and I've smelled a lot of poops in my days. All I can say is her poops were foul enough to recognize. I walked into her old room where no cat has been in months to clean it up for the new cat we were going to bring in, and I was hit with her nasty poop stench. I've gone in there many times before to store things, so I know it wasn't always smelling like her poop. Even when she was alive it didn't always smell like her poop. I had my co-workers come in the room and they agreed it was her foul poop. Jingles took a little ghost dookie. I'll end after this. Our new clinic cat is Ramen. We constantly see him playing like there is another cat with him. He stands up on his hind legs swatting at nothing, acts like he's pouncing on something that isn't there, stalks something that isn't there. Pretty much everything two cats would do together is what we see Ramen do with nothing. It's pretty interesting to watch. We all agree Jingles is definitely still around. She knocks over alcohol bottles, swats Q-tips off the counters. Sometimes dogs on the table will have a reaction like a cat just jumped up next to them. Love you Jingles, you were and are one hell of a cat. Hey there you, yes you please help me get 50 subscribers, subscribe now to get updated every day. Last but not the least scary event. My strange ghost story that happened when I was 18, 2015. My experience with the paranormal and hauntings started when I visited San Bernardino, CA for my summer vacation, and the last summer before that a few years ago when I was 18 through 19. During my visits there, my mother and I traveled extensively across California, and the last place Arizona. Two places in particular, Santa Monica Bay, Venice Beach, as well as Phoenix. I was having fun, I guess, nothing much but family time and an all-vegan diet to satisfy. Driving across a random field to reach our next destination, I was thinking about happy, comforting thoughts with a tiny voice hidden in the back of my mind saying low-energy thought stuff about insecurity that I could physically hear and feel. You couldn't do this anyway, uneasy face, silently, then disappears. Didn't pay much attention to it because of the scenery. Wished I got home sooner. When I got back home to my home state, Michigan, those same voices became so annoying and violent for whatever it wanted. Mentioning an old high school crush very often as well as forced images from my old shaman card deck that I got too scared to use from the spooky images on the cover so I threw them away. Of which the imagery used were very fluent and clear. It pretended to be psychic powers that grew within me very, very well on a deception level for 3 days. A few days later? Hell, it was haunting me bad. Playing a mean game of who has more dominance. After the intensity of the aura of it appearing to me for the first time, it became more calm, friendly, and oddly sexual towards me funnily, very, and its thing to me. Trying to get laughs out of me viciously. It kept saying it wanted to stay forever and how I couldn't get rid of it anyway, very demotivating, but, nevertheless, I had to try and get rid of it for school and dating. No shaman could touch it, no priest could purify it, God never did anything or did, I can't tell. And all the while showing me fun but annoying to watch cartoons that were on a bad harassment level, with a set of weird paranormal feelings from my emotions center being noticeable. After 3 pointless months, its former vicious haunting style died and changed suddenly to be more creepy and intangible like normal ghost stories. Not this open-end, weird. After being at home for a long enough period of time, laying down away the headaches from the all-round annoyingness of my problem, abusing the sudden silence. Heart thumps or heart attacks began happening to me on such a painful and unrecognizable to the eyes level. I couldn't tell what was happening but they just wouldn't stop, and couldn't kill me either. This torturous event happened for exactly 3.4 years non-stop, even when sleeping, even when trying to sleep, and it felt like a spirit was delivering it. With me getting the idea of the giving up thinking I would just die and go to heaven with God explaining why she gave that to me. It was the worst event to have ever happened to me since nothing. Probably nothing for a very long time. Suddenly the pain stopped and I was in a watery and hellish place within my aura and bodily tone strangely. I couldn't work or rest peacefully and still can't, but the aura was a sure sign that it got what it wanted, which must have been a heavy order. It feels scary, being in that place aura-wise, but at the same time comforting knowing that the worst is over. I'm doing fine now but prefer to keep some details to myself about how it's going now. This was a very personal event. Probably the most personal event that will ever happen to me. All that I wanted to do was share this with Reddit and the average mind, smiley face, but I'm doing well after the worst of what it kept doing to me was over. I don't really want to scare anyone though. I just wanted to post for people. Think I'll keep the rest to myself still, but this was just a bad spirit attack tbh. All of the body occurrences were very physical and strange in feeling, by the way.